Hey, good people. Okay, I have to talk about this with someone, and I've talked about it with my friends so much. Mrs. America and the reaction that the Eagle Forum, I believe the woman's name was Corey, interviewing Phyllis Schlafly's daughter, Anne Schlafly Corey. No, her name's Corey. I believe the woman that's interviewing her is Colleen, and they do a 7-part. Every episode they have a response to. And the most interesting part, and I want to keep this brief. Maybe I'll chunk it up into sections. I haven't written anything down. I just was very amazed by how much they. Okay, first of all, how much they, especially Colleen, felt like, oh, this show can't be true because I know Phyllis Schlafly. No, you didn't know Phyllis Schlafly then. I mean, this was a long time ago. Uh, the second wave. This was the 70s. And so Ms. Magazine, I think, came out, what, 72, 73? So what I would say, there's moments where Anna's like, my mother never, competed in a bathing suit at some, pageant. She did own a bathing suit when we went out to swim, but she did not force me to swim because I was scared of swimming. We did have a lot of help, like the help staff, and they were so cool. And then the section about the gas mask and having the idea that Phyllis Schlafly had like a bomb shelter in her basement. I and then when Colleen talks about how, I'll get back to the bomb shelter thing, and so I'm glad I said it, so I'll get back to it, because it talks about the textures and the layers of this show. And what I feel Anne is not seeing is just how incredibly well portrayed her mother was. This is a complex woman who she's an entrepreneur, she's an author, she's worked in munitions, she knows what she's talking about when it comes to defense, she's been in and out, she knows all the circles in Washington, she had a successful grassroots operation. And you're sitting here saying that Kate Blanchett, who is probably the best actress of her generation besides Kate Winslet, she really gives this character, I fell in love with Phyllis Schlafly via Kate Blanchett, that performance, because the bomb shelter scene, for instance, we know that your mother had written books on defense proposals, and she was very fearful with this former Soviet Republic and all this stuff. So when she goes downstairs and she sees a gas mask or something like that, it's not too crazy to think that someone who knows about munitions, who worked in ammunition and weaponry and wrote reports about defense, would, I believe at Harvard or I forget where, would have, preparedness for what was going on at the time. And for Colleen and Anne to talk about Phyllis, what she was like recently in the last couple decades to her, and this goes decades and decades and decades way before Colleen would really have an idea of who someone was. I know that people that I went to high school with now are totally different people. Some of them more likable, some of them not so much likable. People change, and they change pretty quickly. And for someone to be like, oh, Phyllis would never allow that or whatever. I'm not saying that Phyllis Schlafly ever competed in a bathing suit pageant. I'm not saying that. But I think you're throwing out the baby with the bathwater when you say this or this or this. But I'll tell you one thing. Her daughter, Anne, her youngest daughter, who's in, if you go to the Eagle Forums, or you type in Mrs. America Eagle Forum, it'll pop up. They're really interesting interviews. They're really well said. But she kind of, she confirms a lot of stuff. She confirms, that there was obviously her parents, like every other, spousal unit, they had problems. What's so wrong with that? What's so wrong with showing, a woman going through menopause? That possibly happen. I mean, it happens to so many women. This show is so easy to watch. It is so easy to watch. I've watched it 4 or 5 times just if I'm doing something and I put it on. I love the radical we probably not had anything so radical, so monumental as far as movements and activism since the women's movement, since the ERA, which I can't believe. Like, I thought the ERA never had support. This show makes it sound like, the ERA was really, really close to happening, and Republicans loved it, Democrats loved it. Can you even remember a time when Republicans and Democrats kind of got along, kind of were like, oh yeah, I'll vote for your bill? It's really bizarre. That's one of the reasons to watch it right there. Now, so Anne Shafley says that, so Gloria Steinem is saying she doesn't like this show because of the hen fight. Well, maybe that just shows how thin-skinned Gloria is to think that my mother couldn't defeat her or something like that. They talk about that in the 7 episodes that the Eagle Forum has put out. The interesting thing about the Eagle Forum and what it is today is it's kind of, I don't know. I kind of feel like it's a redundant thing. Like, there's plenty of agencies that they could, I don't know. Then a lot of me thinks it's bad ASS that they still are thriving. But from what I get, it's mostly like conservative women. But I don't know. It's like the show itself. Like, Phyllis Schlafly was probably the biggest feminist in the show, portrayed as, I don't know. It's just weird. A lot of the show deals with the fact that she was constantly Phyllis Schlafly's character was constantly looking to be promoted to some bigger thing. She wanted to be in the cabinet with Reagan. Well, the thing is that's very believable, and thinks it's baloney. I'm like, your mother ran for Congress twice, and you think she would have refused? She would have refused the cabinet position? I don't know so much about that. When they go and meet the other woman who has 15... Now, back then, of course, you can just imagine. I remember back in the floppy disk days when it was so cool to be able to put all your stuff on a floppy disk. And that's part of the show. But her mailing list was almost 40,000 strong, I think, by the end of the show, because she absorbed another group called the Pink Ladies. And this isn't Grease. Or they were called WWW, Women Who Want to Be Women. WWW. WWW. Yeah, and the character in that, and the rose scene, you have to watch. Oh my goodness, that was everything. I thought that was so cool. I thought what Cate Blanchett and that actress, I don't know her name, but I wish I would have looked that up. What they do, the deer scene, everything. It's like, this show has a lot of meat to it, and I didn't watch it when it first came out. I just wasn't interested in it, and then when I started to watch it, I think I tend to like get fixated on something, and I watch a lot of like Billie Jean King documentaries that quote Gloria Steinem. So therefore I have to watch the Gloria Steinem. She has a documentary on HBO Max, and that brought me back to thinking, well, maybe I should give this show a chance. Now, I'm going to stop here, and the next chapter will be about the things that... So I'm going to be really brief with this, because I don't want to be... my nephew's trying to FaceTime me. He's 3 years old. He'll be 4. They're having a big party for him soon in July. It is July, at the end of July, and I think they're going to get him like one of those, those big slides. And we, like everyone right now coming out of the pandemic, we're all struggling. We're all thriving in very different ways, and this is going to be like the first time we're going to be able to do something like this as a family. So I don't feel bad talking about it or overprivileged talking about it. We've spent a lot of time and saved a lot of money for this. So anyways, I feel like more than anything now with what the kids have had to go through, if you can give them something really special right now and you can afford to, please do. Gloria Steinem's character, I feel like all the actresses were on their A game, and I thought the title, the color theme, the music, the situations, the scenes, and all these women are always together here in someone's office, or it is just phenomenal how they manage all these set pieces. Margot Martindale, is that her name? Fabulous. Elizabeth Banks, who plays Jill Ruckelshaus. Udo, from, is her name Azuda? I know her name. I can't believe I've been watching a Huda Beauty thing, so all these sounds and we're um hold on. Uzo Aduba. And as soon as I looked it up, I kept before I got on here, I kept saying Aruba and Uzo Aduba. Let me look again. Uzo Aduba. She is fantastic as Shirley Chisholm. I mean, it really, in an understated way, like when she's sitting in her hotel room and she's obviously being guarded by men she would prefer not to. You see all the stuff these women had to go through just to get ahead. That's what I talk about, the activism and really being radical, because that you had no protection. It was just you and your fellow lady, and you stormed through the best you could. Rose Byrne as Gloria Steinem is okay. I love Rose Byrne, and I've loved Rose Byrne before everyone else knew who she was. She was in this movie called, and I really thought she was blind, The Goddess of 1967. It's about this car. She's in Australia. She's an Australian actress. The movie is actually probably one of the most groundbreaking films I've ever seen that no one knows about because it came out so long ago on Sundance Channel. But I tried to find that movie everywhere, and you cannot find it anywhere. It is just one of the hardest movies to find on any streaming service, and I think that's such a sadness. Her performance as Gloria Steinem, I think, reflected what was on the page. There was not... I felt like Gloria was kind of like, when all the craziness is going on, she's the one that's smiling and bringing the light, saying, "Oh, but I won't give Phyllis Schlafly this." You really don't understand, unless you know who Gloria Steinem is, how important Gloria Steinem was if you watch this show, because she's not given a lot of material, considering how much material they could have. I mean, she's always traveling all the time, so it's like, oh, I'm here, and maybe that's the point they were trying to make there. I don't know. Betty Friedan, played by okay, I'm gonna do another Uzo Aduba. One of my favorite actresses, and I loved her sketch comedy, and I can't hold on. Tracy Ullman. You know what name I was gonna say? Carol Tracy. Her name was going to be Carol Tracy. Maybe I should... Anyways, Tracy Ullman plays Betty Friedan. Magnifique. Best performance that Tracy Ullman has given, and I felt everything that they intended me to feel for that character. Margot Martindale was Bella Abzug. And I loved the scene with the newspaper when they make that horrible illustration of Gloria Steinem and that whole thing. Sarah Paulson, I think, was they call it a composite character when she's representing a lot of the different characters in one person. I thought the performance she gave during the episode Houston, because each episode is named after one of the women, which I thought was just incredibly well done. That was a good decision. That was smart writing. Until the last two, the most pivotal, the peak, and then the most pivotal, the epilogue of what happened. Jill Ruckelshaus, I hope I got that right, with Elizabeth Banks. I thought the men were really... I'm tangential, so I'm going to be coming in and out of stuff. The men were really well written, and why should I have thought otherwise? But they were really good supporting characters, and that's most of the men I know, except for the horrible, traumatic men that have been in the past of my mother and my aunts. But I have a lot of aunts, and there's been a lot of experiences with the different horrible men that have come in and out of their lives, which is probably why I'm so, always so feminist in my approach to everything. What I will say about Cate Blanchett is that she painted Phyllis Schlafly as this incredibly complex person who was really a force to be reckoned with, and for Anne and Colleen to not see that in this performance was just kind of sad to me. I felt like they did a good job of making you kind of really like Phyllis Schlafly, and you're not supposed to, because at the end, it's all about how they were, upset about the IRA not happening, and how it could still happen, and I do believe we need it. It's like Ani DeFranco says, having it having these boundaries, these rules, you know, it kind of lets you know what you can and you can't do as far as like breaking the rules. So like when she sings something like, because without it we can't do anything cool. It's like we need to set in stone like these measures, and so yeah, I'm running out of, I wanted to say a lot of things, but the show was one of those sleeper hits. It came out right, everything even right now is considered kind of like the pandemic, because the variant is spreading like wildfire. For those who aren't vaccinated, those are the ones that are getting really, really sick, especially in Missouri. So it came out in a really rough time for things to come out, but it came out in a right time if you think about it, because everyone was watching streaming services for everything, including Nomadland, which was on Hulu, which kind of was, I saw Mrs. America being promoted when I was looking for Nomadland to come up. Such a beautiful film. But I just totally agree with her daughter, disagree with her daughter. And this show is like a must watch. I don't think it gets the respect that it deserves, especially if Gloria Steinem is like railing against it. But it deserves a lot of respect. Its watchability rating, I would give as a red alert or a 10 out of 10. This is one of the most watchable shows you're ever going to see. And if you're into political history, political science, law, this show is so meaty. The roles that Margot Martindale has, Sarah Paulson's role, that wonderful, like, I think she just steals the whole series on the next to last episode. Uzo Aduba, Tracy Ullman, Rose Byrne. I don't know if Rose Byrne did a bad job. She didn't do a bad job. She did an average job. But I guess she did the best with what she had. Personally, I don't understand the whole, like, Gloria Steinem, so like everyone throughout the series is talking about her beauty. I am the last person to talk about looks, but there were some, I don't know. She's a very, very lovely looking lady. I don't, the aviators and I don't know. It was a cool style. It was what it was. But was she like the supermodel feminist? She was certainly a beautiful woman, but I just don't see like the Helen of Troy complex, where that's like the first thing anyone says about her in the show. But they had to run home what they had to run home. Oh, I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate for that, because to me, like, Cate Blanchett is like one of the most beautiful women, and she played Phyllis Schlafly, and Phyllis Schlafly was a very, very beautiful woman, in my opinion. I mean, it's subjective, what looks, but anyhow, I'm done with this long butt thing about the, I really don't, I didn't have it structured because I just could not believe how far off people at the Eagle Forum, and I was kind of saying they're like a redundant organization. I mean, they're battling still, women have rights in the house and this and this and this, but I just don't know, like, I don't really see like what purpose, what conservative women getting around conservative candidates, I guess, but the like, we want to stay at home, just stop trying to fight us for that I'm a millennial, so I don't even understand that. Like, women are the breadwinners most of the times in my experience, so I don't understand like people who are privileged enough to not have to go out and win the bread, staying home and making it. I don't understand that, but that's just my own ignorance, I suppose, and this is going to be long. I'm so sorry.